Hello and welcome to my video. This video that I'm doing today is for the full moon in Capricorn. It's taking place on the 24th of June at 3 degrees of Capricorn, full moon in Capricorn, 3 degrees. This is the tarot part of the reading that I'm going to be doing, so I'm not sure how much of the astrology will come through in the reading itself. If it does, I will also be talking about that as well. But I have done a separate astrology read for you as well if you want to go and check that out. Also, if you don't know where the placements for your own birth chart are, there is a free natal link in the description box down below for you to go and have a look at that as well. So I'm going to start the reading off today for this collective full moon reading with a card from the Celestial Meditation deck. And this card is really significant, and if you watch my astrology reading you will understand why I actually got goosebumps when this card came out. The significance is really strong. I will briefly just say that we have the moon in the very masculine father sign of Capricorn, while we have the sun, the masculine energy, in the very feminine mother energy of Cancer. So hopefully you'll be able to get some understanding of what this card is symbolically expressing as well. So the card itself is Shrestha, which is the wheel of fortune, or the wheel of supreme bliss. In tarot it would be known as the wheel of fortune, and it is an icon of an enlightened mind. Desire and wrath are transformed into rapturous compassion. At the center, the sacred father and mother manifest as your mind, body and spirit. Thus making this material world a reality. Male and female, wisdom and compassion, emptiness and skillful means aspire to live within the creative life force beyond hopes, desires, preferences and fears. There is no separation between self and other. Turn timid responses into a radical engagement with life. Look inside you. You are the cosmos of bliss, manifesting in the harmony of the universe. And the words that go along with this are sacred union, which is incredibly fitting. And again, if you watch my astrology read, I go more into the depth of the masculine and feminine energy that is at play at the time of that full moon taking place. So the first card that we have here for the collective read is the Four of Swords, and it's covered by the Magician. So the Four of Swords is an energy of standing back. It is meditation. If you see there, he's literally sitting down, cross-legged, meditating, contemplating. It's a time of kind of taking a pause, or not rushing into anything, holding back on something, trying to reflect on something. It's a reflective period, so we're being asked at this time to reflect on where we are. You can see here like the wispy clouds that are up there in the sky. It's almost like, you know, lying back and watching the clouds go by, that kind of energy, that meditative kind of allowing your mind to just find that stillness, not rush into anything. Because over the top of this and the challenging energy, we have the Magician. So for me it's kind of saying, because the Magician is manifestation and creativity, standing at a crossroads with all our tools, which is kind of where we are at this time. We're halfway through the year for a start. And the next 6 months are going to be very, very important. There's a lot of change coming. And it's kind of saying to me that we need to be really clear-minded before we go rushing into anything, before we kind of make these decisions on what we're going to bring into our life. Because if you see here, the magician is pointing up and he's pointing down to the earth. So he's pointing up to the sky because he's bringing the new creative energy down into the physical realm, which is where we do all our manifestation. It's where we do it all the time. It's naturally occurring whether we're aware of it or not. It's our thoughts and our energy that we put into our thoughts, our beliefs, that bring our world into creation. So for me, this is saying we need to be very clear. We need to come from a place of stillness, awareness of what it is that we are, wrong way around, of what it is that we are actually manifesting, creating, bringing into our physical domain, literally, over these coming months, because this is a major arcana card as well. The magician talks about a longer period of time being a major arcana card, where the minor arcana cards are much more quick energies. The major arcana talks of longer lasting. And what we have in our head and what we are aware of at this time, we have the Four of Cups. And the Four of Cups is a card of sorrow, it's a card of loss, it's a card of sadness. But if you see on either side of her here, she has these two opposing whispering energies in her ear, which can be seen as outside forces, other people's opinions, other people's ideas, philosophies, telling us basically, like if that's us sitting in the middle here, it's like everybody else has an opinion, everybody else has a view on what we should and shouldn't do. It's how this card is coming through. It's what's in our head, it's what we're aware of. There's lots of noise out there, there's lots of different, I suppose, information, misinformation, disinformation and truth, and it's kind of like trying to also discern, which is also this energy here. Discern what is right and what is wrong for us individually. And how we feel about it. It's a cup energy, so it is relating to our feelings and our emotions. It's saying, how do we personally feel about it? If we cut out all that noise which is surrounding us and give ourselves that space to be able to come into alignment with our own thoughts, our own feelings, our own inner understanding and knowing, then we're going to be able to manifest something from a much more, what's the word, a much more authentic place. Because the full moon is also about, or in Capricorn, the full moon in Capricorn is also about our commitment to something as well. What are we committed to? within ourselves. What do we want to prioritize? What do we want to succeed at? But it's also, I feel with this card here, also kind of saying, you know, cut out that noise. So we'll see what else comes up. We have the Nine of Pentacles up the right way, which is moving away. This is the past energy. And the Nine of Pentacles for me talks about a situation of standing, having stood on our own 2 feet to get to where we are. It's almost at the 10, it's almost at the ending. So it's a sense of realizing that we've come a long way. It's not about how much further we need to go. It's about kind of seeing that we have come from a far distance. And if you relate this to what we have been through over this last year and a bit, and what we have learnt, because the Nine of Pentacles also talks about growth, what we learn. These pentacles do not just have to be wealth and fortune, because wealth and fortune can also be wisdom, knowledge. It depends how you view things. Success can also be a sense of knowing yourself, feeling good about yourself, having self-worth. So that's the past energy, what's the energy that's moving away, which in some ways we have actually had to spend a lot of time in reflection, looking at ourselves, finding out more about who we are. But underneath in the subconscious here we have the Two of Swords, which is a card of decision. But for me it's also a card of being kind of caught within the devil, between the devil and the deep blue sea. I'm seeing kind of similar energies here. Being trapped, stuck between 2 opposing forces and not knowing what's the best thing to do for us, for ourselves. In this particular card you can see that he's got his hands over his ears, his eyes are really tightly shut, and there's like clashing of these swords in front of him. Interestingly, these characters are both his mother and his father. Which can represent that masculine and feminine energy. But I also feel as though it's a sense of again, similar to this Four of Cups card here, of kind of feeling as though you have to please everybody else around you rather than yourself. Because in the Two of Swords here as well, in the story itself, he's being kind of asked to choose between these 2 energies, and he really does not want to do that. He doesn't want to have to make that decision. And this is in our subconscious. This is the realm, the kind of hidden realm from where all of this is coming from, if you like, what we're not so aware of. almost like closing our eyes and our ears off to the truth as well, in a way. So again, too much information, too much of an overload. Not wanting to take responsibility for our own actions, the decisions that we have to make. Because the energy that's moving in is the devil in reverse. And I think we had a devil reading last time, if I remember rightly. I'm sure the devil played a major part in that last reading that I did for the new moon energy. Again, it's that sense of facing up to things that we don't want to face up to. Today I'm seeing it a bit like growing up. It's coming through with very strong Capricorn energy, and Capricorn is about mastery. It is about growing up. It is about maturing. Capricorns are always younger when they're, older when they're younger, and as they get older they get younger. It's something Capricorn does it backwards for some bizarre reason. But the Capricorn energy it's ruled by Saturn, and it's very, like, Saturn is very harsh taskmaster. And here these two characters are being held. You see they're actually on a leash there. And he's playing the pipes. This is actually Pan in this particular card. And so for me, again, it's about dancing to other people's tune. Dancing to other people's dictates, because that's another thing that Saturn's very good at. He's very good at dictating. He's very authoritarian. He represents establishment and authority. And so also, because we have the sun in Cancer at this time, and Cancer is the home, it's security, it's safety, it's wanting to find that sense of belonging, that sense of knowing that it's okay to come out of that shell, it's safe, it's secure. Whereas I feel with this card here, it's really the opposite. It really feels like there's an opposite energy here of not feeling safe, but at the same time the safety that we're feeling, or not feeling should I say, it's like feeling safe in a danger zone is kind of how it's coming through. Not recognizing the danger zone. Cancer sun can also bring up a lot of past issues for us as well, things that we have to face, childhood trauma can also be another thing that the devil brings up. But I feel it more as this kind of collective energy of almost being led down this path that isn't for our own good, that isn't going to help us to grow and mature and to become responsible. Because we also have the sun in reverse as well. And so when the sun's in reverse, it's kind of saying to me that we're lacking clarity we're lacking that resolve as well, some way. Like being kept in the dark, not being given all the information that we need. Because that's something else that the sun for me talks about. It talks about information and seeing things. I mean, when the sun's out, you can see clearer. You can see further. And yet, kind of when it's when it's in reverse, it feels as though it's like it's dimmed. It isn't showing us everything that we need to know and everything that we need to understand. Even though I feel as though what we need to know and understand is there, but it's kind of like hidden in the shadows. Like we need to seek it. It's not kind of like going to be put in front of us. It's not like there it is, this is what you need to know. Now you can make an informed decision on your life. So things being kept in the dark, being kept secret, hidden, buried. Because we also have the Star card in reverse here as well, which is saying to me that this is what we are aware of. Like the star itself is kind of covered up with all of this. Like if I turn it upside down, you can probably see it better, but it's like all of this. This is Pandora who's opened this box and all of the crap's come out into the world. And it's in reverse. So it's like we're not seeing this hope. It's like the light in general. It feels like the light. And for me, light is information. If you bring something into the light, you see it clearer. So it feels like this sense of and these are all 3 major arcana cards as well, so these are big energies. It feels like this never-ending stream of kind of lies and deceit and not being able to see through it. Again, it could go back to discernment as well, having to try and discern what it is that is right, what is wrong, the decisions that we're having to make. But we also have in our hopes and fears the 8 of Cups, which again is more shadow energy. This is going down into the depths of our emotions. But because it's in reverse as well, it feels as though it's something that we're, I mean, it is in our hopes and our fears, so it's not a reality, but in some ways it's almost like it's part of this whole picture here. Like the more we are bombarded by like fear and stress and doom and gloom and worry and all the kind of negative stuff that is just out there, the more we're bombarded by it, the deeper we're kind of sinking into this kind of sense of kind of almost feels like, what's the point? Again, because the star represents hope as well, and our connection to everything, to source energy, to the universe. Whereas here it also feels like manipulation as well, like being manipulated, not being the master of our own life, our own story, our own decisions. And lastly, we have these two cards which have come out together. The Ten of Swords and the Strength card, again, both in reverse. So the Ten of Swords is a card of finality, of endings, of something coming to a point of exhaustion. If you see here, he's laying on the ground and he's completely exhausted by everything. It's like he has no more fight left in him, which is kind of what I'm seeing with this Strength card in reverse as well. Because the Strength card, this particular Strength card for me is, again, it's about maturity. It's about going from being, or coming from a place of reaction rather than a place of strength, literally of strength. It's in a cave as well here as well. If I turn it up again, you'll see that there is this cave here. So for me, caves always represent the inner world, inner. And here the story is, this is Hercules, and he had to kill this big lion, this huge lion that was just kind of causing havoc around the mountains of Greece. And the villagers, all their sheep were being devoured. But this was a magical lion, and he couldn't beat it with weapons like the swords energy here, which actually represents the mind as well. So he ended up having to use brute force in order to be able to then wear the actual hide of this beast, which of course, being magic, being a magical beast, the hide basically meant that he was protected from all of these weapons. But symbolically, it's kind of saying that if we come from a place of strength, inner strength, self-worth, self-esteem, then all the kind of slings of arrows and whatever anybody else wants to say to us or accuse us of or demand of us, it's like it no longer penetrates, it no longer affects us in the same way. It's like just sliding like water off a duck's back, as they say. It no longer has the same effect. And a lot of that is also to do with our fears. Fears of what other people might say, what other people might think. If we go our own way, do our own thing. Not being part of the herd, shall we say. Because as I was saying, these two here, although they are leashed, they also have the capability of just taking the collar off from round their necks. So they choose to stay attached to this energy. They choose not to release themselves. They choose to be bound by this fear, which I feel is something that we're all collectively kind of in at this time, due to everything that has gone on in this last year. And the character here is actually Athene, who is the goddess of justice. So there's 9 swords here, and these are the Furies in the Greek. They were kind of an energy of personal insanity, shall we say. Like, they would turn up to drive you mad. Again, due to the choices that are made. But here she's actually turned up to say enough is enough. There's these 9 swords that are all kind of pinned into the ground here, which are holding them back. They're no longer able to get to this character down here. And she has this sword, the 10th sword, she's holding in her hand as the sword of truth. Truth and justice. But again, because that's in reverse, it feels like it could be a while before we kind of get to this point, this realization. And I also feel that not everybody, I mean obviously not everybody's going to get that kind of breakthrough, shall we say. So let's see what the confirmation cards have to say for us here for this Capricorn full moon energy. And Capricorn full moon energy. Capricorn full moon energy for the collective. Contemplation, more contemplation, as I was saying earlier about this card here. Contemplation, sitting back, taking our time. We literally have that energy of the Hermit. Contemplation, asking deeper questions, going deeper, looking deeper, not just taking things at face value. Wanting to know more. Needing to know more in order to be able to make a decision. We need all the information. So not rushing into anything at this time. Again, we have the 10 of Swords. This time it's upright. So I see this as guarding, like guarding ourselves. Like this as being a positive energy for this 4. Whereas this 4 of Cups, as I was saying, is all about a lot of noise going on around us, a lot of kind of fear and everybody else's opinions, ideas feeding into this. That's kind of us sitting there in the middle, not knowing what to do. what to do next, what's the right thing, what's the best thing. Not trusting possibly our own judgment, but also not totally satisfied with what else we're hearing or being fed. And I feel as though this 10 is kind of coming in as a blocking energy. Like an energy of kind of like block all that out. Block it out. Don't let it get to you. Don't feed into it. Don't buy into it. Keep it out. Go into this energy. This more contemplative, almost like shutting out the outside world is how it's kind of coming through for me here. Shutting it out as much as you possibly can. As much as it's possible for you to do so. Detach from it. That's interesting because we have the Magician again with this card of Isis over the top of the 9 of Pentacles, which is again, it's moving away energy. So what's coming through for me here is the way that her hands are kind of folded over her, the front of her. Again, it's kind of this blocking. But because it's in reverse, it feels more as though this is, because we've got 2 magicians here. And the Magician can be an energy of like trickery. It could be seen as 2 ways. It could be seen as an energy of the Magician, of somebody who is in control of their environment and their self, like they have mastery over themselves, which is how I'm seeing this Magician here. But this Magician, which has come through in reverse, I feel is more about, again, manipulation, trickery, deception. Whereas we've tried to kind of stay strong. Again, that self-esteem, that self-worth. There's something very similar about both those cards as well. Because this is our past energy as well. I mean, this could also have something to do with the, how can you put it, like our environment, our work environment, how we've kind of played the game and like conformed and kind of done what we were supposed to do, what we were told was best for us, what we should do to be good citizens, to fit in, to be a part of something bigger. then it feels as though it's all been like, it's all been like one huge lie is kind of how it's coming through for me here. Almost like with these cards here as well, a sense of it, of our own self-worth and strength being used in a very manipulative way. So I'm seeing this as an outside force, like this isn't our energy, this is an outside force that is kind of trying to control our destiny, control our the Nine of Pentacles. Is also a card of kind of evaluation, evaluating where we have got to, where we are in our lives, success-wise. So it does feel as though this is like an outside force that is kind of coming in to trick. Is how it's coming through, to trick, to lie, to deceive. To confuse. Again, that is past energy as well, so that kind of makes sense to me as well, because the Magician is also ruled by Mercury, and Mercury rules the media and everything that we have been kind of put under for this last year and a half has had a lot to do with the media and the part that they have played in all of this as well. So interesting. We have the Nine of Pentacles again. And the Nine of Pentacles over the Two of Swords, for me, is kind of saying, which choice are we going to make here? That it is down to us as individuals to make those choices for what is right for us, for our self-esteem, our self-worth, our lives. It's like nobody else can live your life, really, is what the Nine of Pentacles is saying. Nobody else can do anything for you. At the end of the day, you have to do it for yourself. You have to be the one to make the decisions that are going to affect your life. And people can help and people can hinder along the way. But ultimately, the choices we make are going to be our decision. For good or for worse. Even though it may feel at times Times that those decisions are out of our hands. Again, because it's kind of saying like, who are we trying to please here? So this is the subconscious, this is the realm that we're not so certain of, if you like. It's what's hidden. What's underneath, what's not obvious. So it's almost for me saying, you know, who are we doing this for? When we make decisions, do we make the decisions for us? Or do we make it to please everybody else around us? To try and keep everybody else happy? And this is kind of part of, I feel, the whole kind of growing up and maturing element of this as well. Again, we have the Sun in reverse. And I feel the same here as I get from this card as well. That's 2 suns in reverse here. So right over the top of this devil energy as well, which is for me this energy of being kept in the dark, of not being given all the information, as I was saying, even though it's actually, it is all out there. It's a case of like, you know, how much do we value ourselves as to whether or not we're going to go look for it, go find it, go deeper within, search within ourselves, or are we going to just allow ourselves to be manipulated? Again, I feel as though an element of this is also about shadow work, bringing up those shadow sides of ourselves in order to free and release them. Because you only get shadows when the sun is shining. But there's also, with this sun in reverse, there's a sense of it kind of being again kind of blurry, like hidden. Like almost like the shadow itself is hidden as well, because the sun isn't bright enough to bring it out into our awareness. Can't like to define it enough for us to see it at this time. And with this 8 of Cups here as well, we may well be feeling reluctant to go down into that depth, into that darkness, into that place, that emotional kind of place of pain, and it's like yuck is what I'm getting here. That place of yuck, of yuckiness, of kind of like emotional I want to say like treacle, like something that's really deep and really like sticky, like sticks to us. Because that's what trauma does, it sticks to us. And it goes on to create the world around us that we are still manifesting. So let's see what we get over the top of this Sun card here. Full moon in Cancer energy. What is the message for the Sun card for the collective? Yeah, with the Sun in reverse twice, it just feels as though we are really unclear about things, or we will be as we move forward. There's like a sense of not really seeing things clearly, or understanding, or knowing what to do next. We have the Prince of Pentacles, who's also come out in reverse, so that's the Page of Pentacles energy in reverse. Page is young energy, energy that needs to grow. Pentacles is about growth. In reverse, it may feel as though we are stuck, that we're not moving forward, that we're not growing, we're not learning. Like knowledge is stunted, because you can only grow through learning, experiencing. But here with the Page of Pentacles in reverse, there's a sense of things being kind of at a standstill, it feels. And I will just say that we do have a lot of retrograde planets at this time as well. Neptune is turning retrograde. Jupiter has just turned retrograde. Mercury's turning direct. But we still have Saturn and we still have Pluto in retrograde. So we will be having all four out of the 5 major outer planets, which have a bigger effect on our lives in general, all once again turning retrograde and going in the opposite direction. So that is going to have an effect on our forward motion at this time as well. So it could feel very much as though things are stagnant at this time, that there's not a lot of growth. And maybe it's also because we do need to go within, look within instead of outer, instead of looking outwardly. We need to look more inwardly. So it says again, like contemplation, contemplate our experience so far. What have we learnt? What are we learning? And the star has over the top of it the Princess of Staves, Princess of Wands, fire energy. But in this card it kind of reflects more like growth through creative spirit, I suppose, creative spirit, drive, ambition. Again, it's in reverse though, so there is this sense of it feels like with this Star card in reverse, and this kind of like, for me the Star card is representing that energy of lack of hope, which could also be Jupiter just kind of having stationed. But the Knight of Wands, which is what this card is here, is very kind of driving, forceful, explorative, very kind of wants to go beyond the boundaries, wants to explore, wants to again experience. But again, when it's in reverse, it just feels like this stagnating energy, like something is like, almost like something is being subdued, or being like our spirit, our drive, our passion is being blocked in. And it could also have something to do with all of this, as I was saying earlier, all of this crap that's kind of coming out at us, all this fear and this like worries and stress, and that is kind of making us feel depleted, lack of energy, lack of drive, lack of fire, lack of action. Again, because we may not know what to do at this time, what's the best thing for us to do. But it's kind of saying for me that a lot of this is all about kind of pausing, reflecting, thinking things through. The Six of Swords over the top of the Eight of Cups, and our hopes and our fears are kind of similar energies in a way, because the Eight of Cups talks about going down into those murky, dark areas of our own emotional psyche, and the Six of Swords I'm seeing them as kind of similar energies. It's like after she comes back out from this dive into her underworld, our own personal underworld, of clearing out our traumas, our fears, kind of having to really face things that we don't necessarily want to face here. Again, this is hopes and fears. But it's almost like here she is after she's done that, after she's been there, kind of moving away, because the Six of Swords talks about leaving something behind, turbulent energy, emotional experiences, moving on from something that has been difficult, that has been emotionally draining. But it's more than just draining. There's this kind of like, because the Swords is also logical thinking, mind as well. So it's like making a conscious decision. It feels like making a conscious decision to move on. But that's what we're hoping we're going to be able to do. And interestingly here as well, I've just noticed these birds which are like in the sky, but they're almost like shadow. Like a blur, which is kind of what I was talking about with this energy here, this kind of blur, this kind of not actually being able to see our own fears and our own fears, our challenges, the things that hold us back, stop us from achieving, stop us from that keep us in the dark. And for some reason I'm getting Plato's wall cave in my head, of kind of the reality that we think is there as opposed to the reality that is actually there, has come through for this energy and this energy here as well. Now, if you don't know the story of Plato and the cave and the fire and the people who were chained up, I do believe, and all they could see was the shadows on the wall of these figures. It's worth a read if you don't know the story, and check it out. But that's kind of what I'm seeing for that energy. And it's almost like leaving this shadow energy behind after this period of having to face it, look at it, understand it, and be able to move on. And if we don't, then we won't be able to move on into these calmer waters, which is where she's trying to get to. So collectively I feel that is what we are hoping is going to take place, that we're going to come out of this collective dark night of the soul in a way with this Eight of Cups energy, that we're all having to face something that we don't want to face. And that could be anything, our deepest, darkest fears, which is going to be different for everybody. So the Strength card and the Ten of Swords. Is covered by the Six of Cups in reverse. Six of Cups in reverse. Kind of coming through for me as a Cancerian card at this time, because the sun is literally in Cancer. And with the Ten of Swords and the Strength card here as well. I'm seeing it. And the Strength card is often said to represent the Leo energy, because of the lion and the courage that it takes sometimes to face things that we don't want to face. And also we have Mars in Leo at this time. the Six of Cups can be an energy of, again, more kind of contemplation and reflection. It can also be a card of seeking harmony and balance. Emotional harmony, emotional balance. Because there's 3 sets of 3 pots of flowers there. Sorry, 2 sets of 3 pots of flowers, should I say, not 3. But again, it's in reverse. Which is interesting though, because in some ways it's kind of saying that it's all, it doesn't matter, it's kind of the same either way. I might put another card over the top of that. Six of Cups. And Six of Cups can also be seen as being connections. A lot of people see it as the soulmate card. Let's come out with the Queen of Pentacles, also in reverse as well. Queen of Pentacles, earth energy. Very caring, nurturing, loving, giving energy, but it's in reverse, and when it's in reverse it tends to kind of be much more I kind of put much more self-orientated. Like it's not coming from a place of strength again. This lack of strength, of kind of feels like some strength and willpower. Queen of Pentacles is that very motherly energy. But again, when it's in reverse, it just feels as though it's something that's not being shared, it's not being given, it's not being, which could also have something to do with this Six of Cups as well, reciprocated energy. Like an imbalance, even though this Six of Cups does look like it has some balance about it. And it has got as well on those pots, it looks like there is Venus symbols. If you can see that on those first 2 pots there, kind of symbol of Venus, which is the symbol of the Queen of Pentacles. She's ruled by Venus. So it is to do, it feels like it is to do with our environment and our outer world. Again, what we create, what we put into something. But with the 10 and the Strength card here as well. Everything being in reverse, it really feels as though nothing at this time is in a sense of balance. It's interesting because we've actually got all the 4 elements here as well. We've actually got the fire of Leo, the air of the swords, the earth of the pentacles, and the water of the cups energy here as well, which kind of goes back to this magician energy of having everything that we need in order to manifest and create outwardly. This also feels like Capricorn energy, Cancer energy, which is the sun and the moon. And as I was saying earlier, the sun is in the Cancer female energy and the moon is in the masculine Capricorn energy. So she's not feeling particularly at ease at this time. Possibly quite a lot kind of harsher, holding back. There's something about the feminine energy here that is not being open emotionally. It feels like there's something that's emotionally being blocked here. And this feels like very masculine energy. So this is the kind of the feminine and the masculine, which also goes back to the energy earlier of the kind of being in union. But it doesn't feel as though there is that sense of union. It feels very kind of like coming from very different places. Another thing about the moon being in Capricorn as well is it's in detriment. It's literally at its worst point on the zodiac because it's furthest away from its home, which could also be this energy here of the moon being furthest away. This is the nurturing, caring, feminine energy. It kind of wants to be here, it wants to be in its home, it wants to be where it belongs. Which could also be how we're feeling at this time as well, that we want to be safe and secure. Safe and secure in our homes, in our lives. Balanced in our emotions. But it doesn't feel as though that's where we feel that we are at. It feels to me as though it's like there's struggle. There's struggle to find this balance and this harmony at this time. But we've got to face some things. And the things that we have to face are going to cause this sense of almost like taking us back to a point of emotional immaturity, to kind of show us where we're coming from, if you like. So it's like emotionally still responding from the same place where our trauma, possibly also to do with this mothering energy as well, the female energy, which I also talk about in the astrology read that I've done recently, of how this energy has been very undervalued. The caring, nurturing, kind, loving, particularly in a very very patriarchal, have to be strong kind of sense. Of the world as well, like if you want to fit in, you have to kind of particularly in the business world, you have to be able to take all the shots that are thrown at you, all the slings and the arrows. But it feels as though that imbalance is what's kind of being shown to us, if you like. It's what's being put out into our environment so that we can see it clearer. So that we can break free from it. So on the bottom of the, I'm going to use these as a kind of advice card, and we have calmness. This is from the World Offering Oracle, and it says, the inner divine is the witness of all, remaining still and quiet even during intense turbulence, which is kind of what I was getting from this energy here, this turbulent, and here as well. So take a deep breath and then say, quiet my mind, dear Lord, may your peaceful calm take over. So that was at the bottom of the deck, so let's see which card comes out for us as a offering, final message, advice card. Oops. We also have, at the time of the full moon, Chiron in Aries, making a T-square with both the masculine and the feminine moon and sun energy, mother and father energy. So there is a healing taking place here as well, which could also be what this row of cards up here is talking about. That's kind of what's coming through for me on some level. It is time to heal the wounds, which is what I'm getting from this Six of Cups energy. It's time to heal the wounds of the feminine, but also the wounds of the masculine, because both have been very kind of segregated and put into boxes. Whereas, as it says, like in the card, in this card, about it being sacred union, it's like it's all one thing. All one energy within all of us. has different definitions or way of expressing. So we have true offering, which says, may I release the fears, illusions and addictions that keep me from true offering. May I relax into your plan, trusting that the next steps will always be shown. Use me, love, use me for the highest. I am yours alone. Which kind of conjured up this energy for me when I was reading that. Because this can also be addictions as well. And we can be addicted to anything. We can be addicted to our pain, our trauma. We can be addicted to doing something the same way over and over again. Like I was saying, we can actually be addicted to the pain that it causes us. So, I've actually showed you that card there. And lastly, I'm going to read one from the Divine Feminine, because it is all about the full moon energy. Let's see what we get here from the Divine Feminine. 2. Okay. We have Bridget, the goddess of the eternal flame. I am an eternal flame, and each day my light grows brighter. And we have Amaterasu, the goddess of light. We are all sacred mirrors reflecting back the same light. Which is interesting, because that's something else that I wrote in my astrology about the masculine and the feminine, and how the sun and the moon in the separate energies are kind of reflecting that back at each other at this time. Like the masculine in the feminine in the masculine. It's like being reflected back to see those different aspects within ourselves. So let's quickly see what we have here. We've got Bridget. We'll read Bridget first. Where are we? Bridget. 162, yeah. Sorry about this, we'll get there eventually. Here we go, Bridget. She represents the essence of an inner dawn and the healing that comes from knowing that the best is yet to come. Bridget is the goddess of pre-Christian Ireland. She is associated with the Indo-European dawn goddess and the coming of spring. She is celebrated in a Celtic festival called Imbolc that takes place halfway between the winter and spring solstices. It is said that at the moment between dusk and daybreak, Bridget arose into the sky with flames like rays of the sun blazing in her hair. There's a shrine near Kildare in Ireland that is sacred to the Druids because it was believed to have been a place where Bridget's priestesses attended to her eternal flame. This is where they learned the ancient healing practices that are associated with Bridget, and this is where in 480 CE Saint Bridget built a monastery in honour of the goddess and created a communal and consecrated centre for women's religious life and learning. Bridget is associated with poetry and with all things elevated, states of being, high rising flames, lofty dimensions, elevated wisdom. Which is kind of things like kind of similar to Capricorn energy in a way as well. I'm kind of getting that kind of Capricorn always wants to be higher up. Like if you think of the mountain goat, it leaps from one thing to the next. It's always wanting to get higher and higher. Capricorns are kind of the same. They want to be, they're forever driven to achieve more and better. She is said to have created the whistle for calling out from one person to another while walking through the night, which lifts the wanderer with its levity and reminds her she's not alone. Or him, makes no difference. So when we get this card, there's a moment when you're making your way through the dark, and suddenly, after what feels like days or months or even years, a ray of light comes through to you. A lightening happens. Each step isn't quite as hard to make as the one before, and you feel a great shift begin, as if now you're headed towards something new, something even brighter. Bridget is the essence of that first flame, that first ray of light. It could also be this energy as well that I was feeling was kind of subdued, but it is that spirit, that flame. Bridget reminds us that the darkness never lasts. Bridget's eternal flame represents the truth. Sorry about that. Not had that happen to me before. Okay, so where were we? Wrong page. Represents the truth that the light never leaves us and can never be extinguished. It simply gets obscured or blocked from us, which is what I was feeling with these reversed sun cards. It simply so she reminds us that every day is actually filled with light. There are many days and times in our lives when we endure thick cloud cover, when that flame that exists within us is blocked by pain or confusion. Bridget is the sweet sound that reaches us in the dark and reminds us that we have never been on this journey alone. Bridget is our sign that the dawn is here because we have made it, which could also be this Ten of Swords energy as well, because the sun is rising in the background. I always see this as the sun rising, like a new day is dawning. But when it's in reverse, it could be like it's a long time coming. Or it may feel like it's been a long time coming, because it's been a long time for us to get to this place. So, Bridget is our sign that the dawn is here because we have made it through the dark winter. We can lift our head. The healing has happened, and now each next day is bound to be brighter. And so the soul voice meditation is what allows me to feel light more often every day. And the intention, I am an eternal flame, and each day my light grows brighter. So let's have a quick look at Amaterasu. Not sure if that's how you pronounce it. Amaterasu. And she is saying, Amaterasu embodies the levity that brings us out of the darkness and shows us the beauty of our own light. Amaterasu is the most powerful deity in the Shinto religion. Shinto is Japanese religion, I believe. She's the solar goddess of Japanese mythology. Her name means shining in heaven. The oldest legends of Amaterasu date back to the 8th century and come from the Kajiki, or the Japanese record of ancient matters. In Shinto, kami are spirits or deities, and the most well-known story of the kami in Shinto is when Amaterasu got in a fight with her brother, Susanoo, god of the storms and of the sea. His violence made Amaterasu so upset and angry she retreated into a cave, leaving the world in darkness. The kami of merriment placed a mirror outside of her cave and laughed so much Amaterasu became curious. She peeked outside the cave and saw a beautiful goddess, a stunning vision of the dawn. She was in awe of it, not realising it was her own reflection. So that's twice we've got this dawn energy, this new day dawning, this new world coming into being. Surrounded by laughter, Amaterasu's anger and depression lifted, and she agreed to leave the cave, bringing her light with her back into the world. Which also could be this energy here as well, being in this cave. But there is transformation happening within this cave. So when your soul selects her card, the cave is so crucial, drawing inward, hiding our light to restore ourselves and to heal from something or someone that felt too intense or aggressive. When we hide our light, though, we aren't the only ones left in the dark. We take our light from the ones who love us as well. This is more cave energy as well. This Devil card, I always see that as being very internal, very cave-like. The beauty of Amaterasu is that she emerges from the cave out of curiosity, attached to someone else's joy. That when she meets with the dawn of her own reflection, she doesn't truly see herself and the beauty of her light until she's drawn out of herself. Amaterasu sees her own light once she becomes curious about seeing the light that's around her in the levity and laughter of the other deities. This is the answer. If we've been too long in retreat, if we've been hiding our light, not out of self-love and soulful need for restoration, but out of a reaction to someone else's pain, then we draw ourselves out by focusing on the joy of others. Seeing their light allows us to see our own. And sometimes even the solar goddess needs to be inspired or reminded of why she shines so brightly. Not just for the sake of her own reflection, but also for all those beloved beings that need her rays of light to remember their own. Sometimes we need the sight of the faces we brighten in order to remember why we are so devoted to finding our way back into the light. And the soul voice meditation is: imagine someone in this moment you want most to see laugh and fill with light. Intention: we are all sacred mirrors reflecting back the same light. Very beautiful cards, both kind of talking about the same thing, I believe, a kind of dawning of something new coming in. Also with this magician energy, manifestation, creating something new. So I'm going to leave the reading there for this Capricorn full moon and say I hope that you have enjoyed it. Hope that it has helped you in some way. Maybe you got something from it. If it's benefited you, please could you thumbs it up for me, because that really just helps to get my videos out into a broader YouTube world where other people can see them, hopefully come back to my channel. Thank you very much for those of you who have already thumbs up my videos. I do really appreciate it. And for those of you who have subscribed as well, thank you very much. And also, if you haven't subscribed, my glass is sliding down my nose, could you please subscribe to my channel as well, because I am really trying to grow my channel at this time and it all helps. Just that little, like, hitting that like, that thumbs up makes a huge difference. And if you want to hear more of my videos, please subscribe and tap that bell to let you know as and when they will be getting put out. I do all the full moon, new moon videos, both the tarot and the astrology side of them as well, and all the sun signs as well. So with that, I'm going to leave it there and say thank you very much for watching and enjoy this full moon in Capricorn energy, and hopefully I will see you all again soon. Take care.